watch me bleed. Every kick, drum hit is a symphony. Every brush of your curves is the air I breathe. You speak, I am listening. Sweat rolls, girl, you're glistening. Slow-mo, pull me into the light, the light. There are people watching us, wishing they were obvious, instead of giving into the fright, the fright. When one just breaks, one slow suicide while one just takes and takes. One choice for the good of you, but not the one you make. One worth dying for if you saw her shake, shake, shake. We can feel the flow underneath our feet. I am listening. We can feel the flow underneath our feet. You are glistening. We can feel the flow underneath our feet. I am listening. We can feel the flow underneath our feet. That's my bed for you. Run through the fire, out the wire. How it's everything I own. I swim the ocean, dance with the devil. I'd sell my soul to take you home. Run through the fire, out of the wire. I would sell everything I own. I'd swim the ocean, dance with the devil. I'd sell my soul to take you home. When you put your hand in my jacket, I'm thinking so irrational. You flew me international now. And we can spend hours reading the signals, but that's so unoriginal. What if we took this back to my house? Under all these lights, I gotta take a minute to calm down. But I feel like if I told you I was ready right this minute, do you think that it would turn you on? I just feel like you need to know. If I told you I was ready right this minute, would you just run off and tell someone? I just feel like you need to know. I don't wanna feel like we're wasting time. Tell me, should I go and call up a taxi? We can make out for play in the backseat. Please tell me now how that all sounds. You can sleep in while I make breakfast, watch cartoons and talk about exes. And if you're happy, stick around. I just feel like this is worth the risk. I never felt a fire like this. If I told you I was ready right this minute, do you think that it would turn you on? I just feel like you need to know. If I told you I was ready right this minute, would you just run off and tell someone? I just feel like you need to know. Right here, right now, we're running out of things to talk about. Right here, right now, I'm about to let the truth come out. If I told you I was ready right this minute, do you think that it would turn you on? You tell me now. If I told you I was ready right this minute, would you just run off and tell someone? Keep my feet on the ground. If I told you I was ready right this minute, I just wanna do and lay you down. I just feel like you need to know. It's clear. If I told you I was ready right this minute, would you just run off and tell someone? I just feel like you need to know. If I told you I was ready right this minute, do you think that it would turn you on? I still remember your number, can say those digits by heart. With that first drink of the summer, I think about where you are. I dial 235, are you alive? How I miss our late night drives in 4-6. How is it that in my mind I flip a switch and 7-2, forgetting you is something I can't seem to do, even though we were just kids. I close my eyes, I'm waiting for the lightning.
Hey, what is going on, everybody? Good morning. Hope you all have a good cup of coffee. I know I do, finally. Krigler and Krigler coffee. Good in the morning. No joke, though. That stuff is actually really good. Hey, guys, it's been a long time since I've done a live stream or really any long-form content on this channel at all. As you probably have noticed, I put up a couple shorts every now and again right now, or actually, it's no longer every now and again. It's almost every single day, though today there won't be any shorts because I'm doing this instead. I really wanted to get back into doing some long-form video and just doing a full, probably hour-long stream while going through a couple of these stories here, because, well, what I've noticed is when I post these shorts, as fun as those shorts are to post, and let's be honest, thanks to the YouTube algorithm, it really does bump them up tremendously. It's hard to really get any type of nuance in it, and it's made it so I feel like I'm kind of just going for like the highlight of something and never able to actually expand on it at all. So hopefully this will be my way of being able to expand on some of these stories rather than just posting quick shorts. Though I will still keep posting shorts, of course, because let's face it again, YouTube does really push them out. It's like 1,000 views like in an hour. It's like amazing, right? So we're back doing some live streams. Probably going to stick to probably every Thursday around 6 a.m. is the plan. So we'll see how that goes. Because, well, I have kids, you see. So because of that, I can't really do much in the middle of the day. And I definitely cannot do much in the evening because, well, man, it is a pain in the ass to get them to go to bed sometimes. I'll tell you that. They're good. They're really good about it. But I got one kid who's about a year and a half and another that's like 2 months old at this point. So it's kind of frustrating at night. But either way, we are going to go ahead and hop into this first story we have here. All right, we got Alex Jones. Originally, I had a different story planned for this, but Alex Jones, I just found out, has to pay around $1 billion over the Sandy Hook mess he got himself into. And to really put this into perspective for you, to really put this into perspective as to how ridiculous this is, Luke Rudkowski actually posted this on Twitter. Purdue Pharma execs to pay $634 million fine an OxyContin case. Mind you, they made billions of dollars off what they were doing, right? Made billions of dollars, yet their fine was less than Alex Jones, which all he did was say words that were incorrect. And that's where we're really at right now, right? We're at a point where saying bad words is really worse than actually harming people with, frankly, faulty medication. Not a faulty medication, well, kind of. People died from it, right? People died from what they were doing. As well as just, let's face it, when it comes to the opioid epidemic in general in America, we have a massive problem. And this is all, of course, Big Pharma goes to because they're extremely protected. Alex Jones says, you know what? I don't think he was right in this at all, obviously, but he says some stupid stuff on Sandy Hook. $1 billion. $1 billion. I can't even wrap my head around it. His business isn't even remotely worth that much. Again, Big Pharma makes billions almost every year. Alex Jones, he probably hasn't made $1 billion in his lifetime. The families aren't going to see a cent of it, right? They're not going to see a single cent from this settlement because he just plain doesn't have it. You can't, let's say, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip. I mean, that's basically what we're working with here, right? He does not have the money to give. Yet, this is what they're going to push for. They're going to try to ruin anyone they can who they don't like, right? If CNN lies all the time, their fines are not nearly as big, or I guess not really fines, but their court orders are not nearly as big as what the court has ordered Alex Jones to pay. Not even remotely. Yet I would warrant to say that more people probably, well, maybe not anymore, but back in the day, more people watched CNN and MSNBC. You know, where is the payments from CNN, MSNBC, Fox News for lying to us about, you know, what was going on over in the Middle East? Where's the money being paid out about them? Well, they lied time and time again about stuff like weapons of mass destruction, or whether it be stuff like, of course, the hands up, don't shoot, which resulted in actual violence to occur because they lied about an event that happened that was easy to disprove. Well, what about what they did with Kyle Rittenhouse, where they said, of course, that he murdered 3 black men? And then after he was acquitted, still went around saying, well, he's a murderer. He's a murderer. Absolutely insane. And are they going to be fined even close to this? Even close to this, even though most people would say, I hate to say it, most people would say that CNN is a bigger entity, right? They have more reach, more impact than what Alex Jones has. I mean, we all love Alex Jones. I mean, I posted his llama bit earlier this week, but to say $1 billion, I really thought people were messing with me when I heard this. I really thought people were just messing with me. You know, someone down here, he put the Exxon Valdez oil spill, if you remember how terrible that was, back in 2001. The settlement for it was only $500 million. If you remember how bad the Exxon Valdez oil spill, it was massive. It was massive. $500 million. I warrant that did cause probably over $1 billion in damages, and yet their settlement amount was $500 million. Again, though, Alex Jones says a couple words he should not have said, and it's near $1 billion. Absolutely insane. So we're going to look at this right here. This is from AP News. Jurors ordered conspiracy theorist Alex Jones. I love that. Conspiracy theories have not turned out to be true time and time and time again. Not, of course, the Sandy Hook one. That one was false. However, let's face it, many of the other conspiracy theories he, quote unquote, conspiracy theories that he pushed did turn out to be a little bit real. Let's say Epstein. Just saying, people used to say that a cabal of pedophiles was obviously not possible, but now we know is not just possible, but was being done constantly. So, conspiracy theories might have a place in today's society. Alex Jones Wednesday to pay nearly $1 billion to Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting victims' relatives and an FBI agent who said he turned their loss and trauma into years of torment by promoting the lies that promoting the lie that the rampage was a hoax. Years of torment promoted by a lie rampage. Okay. Every news agency has been lying about people. Again, every news agency. What about the Cuffington kids? Were their lives, would their lives turn into torment when they were harassed again and again and again? When people are posting how they wish they could put those kids to a wood chipper for something they didn't even do? Where's the justice there? The $965 million verdict is the second biggest judgment against InfoWars host for spreading the myth the Delhi shooting in the U.S. never happened, and that the grieving families seen in the news coverage were hired as part of a plot to take away people's guns. The verdict came in a defamation lawsuit by some of the family of the 26 people who were killed in the 2012 shooting, plus an FBI agent. Of course, there's always the FBI agent involved, isn't there? Who was among the first responders. A Texas jury in August awarded nearly $50 million to the parents of another slain children. Again, an outrageous amount, but far more reasonable than $1 billion. Robbie Parker, who lost his 6-year-old daughter, Emily, said outside a Connecticut court that he was proud that what we were able to accomplish, I can't speak all of a sudden. It's the morning. It's the morning, people. I can't speak. What we were able to accomplish was just to simply tell the truth. No. Alex Jones has already admitted that he was wrong on Sandy Hook. The truth is already out. He's already done more than what CNN has ever done, or MSNBC has ever done, or what Fox News has ever done. He's at least admitted his mistakes. Where is Fox admitting their mistake about what happened in Iraq? Where is CNN admitting their mistakes about hands up, don't shoot? Where is MSNBC admitting their mistakes with the Russian collusion hoax, which I would argue again caused far more damage than anything Alex Jones has ever said in his life? The Russia collusion hoax alone should be enough to push away this idea that, Alex Jones is the real danger here. The Russia collusion hoax, people still believe in. People still, all over the country, believe Trump was a Russian asset, even though we know for a fact at this point that is just not true. And we knew for a fact back then, to be honest. It's just that they kept spreading that misinformation. But of course, their misinformation is allowed to be spread. Their information is always allowed to be spread. Because it's not about principle for these people. It never has been about principle. It's been about power. It's always been about power. We say, well, they're not acting according to their principles. Yes, they are. Yes, they 100% are. They're acting 100% according to their principles. Their principle is whatever it takes to get as much power as possible, it is worth it. They do not care about a set structure of values. They care about the end result, and how to get there doesn't matter to these people. It's what all far leftists always have believed all throughout time, right? Far leftists have always believed the ends justify the means, and the same goes here. So, yeah, they're not going to apologize for their misinformation, or they're going to apologize for being hypocrites and not paying out penalties for when they did spread misinformation. They're just instead going to hit us anytime we make a single mistake. And this also brings up another fact. Should people be fined for being wrong? Really, I mean, in all honesty, even if they did, let's say, lie, not even lie, right? They get it wrong. They get the story wrong. Should you be fined for that? And there I'm not 100% sure, right? And we have the First Amendment for a reason. We have the First Amendment to be able to say whatever the hell we want to say. And yet, we do have laws on the books saying that if you say something that is wrong, if you're mistaken, you can be fined. I'm really not sure how I feel about that. Now, if you can prove that you intentionally lied to defame someone, maybe then I think that's actually appropriate. But I really kind of like the fact, in the past at least, it's been very, very hard to sue for defamation, and that has created some problems 100%, right? What happened to Trump, of course, them coming out and calling people white supremacists and Nazis and all these crazy things that we know are just untrue. That does create problems, allowing them to spread that sort of, idiocy. But the reality is the minute you start saying that they have to pay pay for defamation, the same thing happens then on the other side, because frankly, they'll use it more than we use it. Let's be honest, right? If we try to sit there and get them for defamation, they're going to turn around and do something like this, where they're going to charge, again, one person $1 billion for their defamation. I'm not sure if we should really have any sort of judgment against someone who is just wrong. You made a mistake. Okay, guess what? The Constitution protects your right from being stupid. Are we going to punish people because they're dumb? That's kind of where I get to here, where you say any type of misinformation, but you truly believe it's true. That's just you being stupid. So, are we going to fine people for being stupid? That's, at the end of the day, that's the real question. Again, malicious intent, we can argue that. We can argue malicious intent. We can sit there and say, well, CNN had malicious intent when they purposefully lied about what happened to Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, that might make sense, right? That might be a case where you can do an actual lawsuit. But to say when someone's just wrong, when someone's just stupid, we're going to fine them $1 billion? You're too dumb. We're going to fine you $1 billion. It doesn't make sense to me. It just really doesn't make sense to me. But of course, this isn't about doing what is right. Down here, let's see. So there's a couple things here. To plaintiff William Sherlock, the verdict shows the internet is not a wild, wild west, and your actions have consequences. We miss the wild west of the internet. It used to be the internet was our place where we could be stupid, where we could say dumb things and get dumb ideas and actually kind of work a lot of this stuff out. We were able to expand our field of knowledge by being okay with being wrong. That was a big part of this, right? The big part of the internet was we were fine with being wrong. We were fine with making jokes. We were fine pushing boundaries. And through that, we ended up learning more and more and more and more. I can't tell you how many, if we did not have the internet, people being allowed to spread crazy ideas, we all probably would believe the nonsense going on back in, back during the Iraq and Afghanistan war. We probably would have believed in the weapons of mass destruction. We probably would have believed all the stuff that went down there was, for the good of America. Instead for what it really was, which was, of course, a way for a bunch of people to make a lot of money. And, of course, for America to get really, at least the American citizen, to get almost nothing out of it. Down here, they said something, though, that was almost pretty troubling, really. Where was it? It was, Sorry, here we go. Yeah, so he said, I've already said I'm sorry hundreds of times. I'm done saying I'm sorry. Good. He shouldn't be saying he's sorry anymore. He said he's sorry. Move on, people. Move on. Okay, let's see. Here we go. A lawyer for the families in the Connecticut case, Josh Koskoff, said, if this verdict shuts down Alex Jones, good. This is not about getting people money that they feel they deserve for their pain and suffering. This is about shutting him down to the best of their abilities. But they're going to have trouble with that. They really are. Because again, like I said before, you can't squeeze blood from a turnip, right? So he doesn't have the money. They'll probably never see a cent of this. Not only will, in fact, it'll be appealed, as well as the fact Alex Jones is good about, I don't want to say hiding his money, but putting it aside to different areas. So, New York Post has this right here. Alex Jones transferred real estate to his wife before the $1 billion penalty. So here's the deal. They can only take what's his. You transfer stuff around, well, what are you supposed to do? Say he says, hey, Joe, you've been working as a good cameraman for all these years. Here is a $1 billion check. Just a bonus for you. $1 billion. Go ahead and take it over. They can't get that $1 billion then because it's already been given over to Joe. Whatever, there's ways you can move your money around that are completely legal, mind you, that can basically hide his wealth very, very well. Like, for example, listen, say he buys certain crypto coins. I'm not going to advocate for any one in particular, but there are certain cryptocurrencies out there that are very, very, very difficult to track. Very, very difficult to have any knowledge that you ever even obtained. Let's say he got a bunch of that. Let's say that instead he transferred money to some type of offshore account. Let's say he has other people who he trusts with his money that he gives things to. He can hide all of the wealth he wants to hide and then keep doing his show and keep paying out just a little bit of just a portions every now and again to the families if that's what he really wanted to do. They will never see that $1 billion. They will never see that $1 billion. They just never will because he doesn't have it on hand. Either way, it just is a very interesting I cannot believe a $1 billion penalty. I really cannot believe it. It's ridiculous. It just is. It's Dr. Evil, right? It's not $1 billion. It's ridiculous. But that's where we're at now. What was it? Clown World is the old joke, right? Clown World. It drives me nuts. It really does. Sorry, I had a fan over here that was going a bit loud. Yeah, it drives me nuts. It really does. But hey, that's where we're at. But it's not all sad. It's not all pessimism when it comes to what's happening today. We also have a very, very interesting case here. Let me pull it up. Saying on a positive note, we have a story here where hundreds of Muslim protesters shut down a Michigan school board meeting over sexually explicit LGBTQ books. Now, for those of you who don't know, Michigan has a very high Muslim population, especially Dearborn, Michigan, which is almost 50% Muslim. Now we can sit there and say, that might make us uncomfortable. Maybe we don't really like some of the cultural issues that are tied to the Islamic faith as a whole. One thing we can agree with, though, is Abrahamic religions uniting over the fact that we should not be showing kids sexually explicit content in school, nor should we be showing kids gay content in school. And let me please expand on that real quick, because I had someone asking a question on one of my videos. What do I have against the gay community, or why is it so bad that gay content's being shown in schools? And I want to make this very clear. I have nothing against the gay community whatsoever. I really don't. I think everyone has a right to be with whoever they want to be with. And in fact, I would even say that I would rather see two gay men married than I would like to see, straight people just hooking up left and right. I don't like hookup culture. I don't like what that's become. And I really would rather see a gay couple happily married than I would like to see, people, just straight people going at it just left and right. I have nothing against gay people. I don't really have much against trans people for the most part. As far as I'm concerned, you have a right to go and dress up and act however you want to like, or act however you want to. The issue I have is where you come over here and then tell me I have to then play make-believe with you. All right, I'm an adult. If I'm going to play make-believe, I'm going to play make-believe, Star Wars make-believe with my kids or some crap like that. I'm not going to play make-believe with you, okay? You are what you are. I'm sorry. I'm not going to play along. But you have every right. You have every right to put on that dress. I will not argue that. You have every right to put on that dress. You have every right to do whatever you want to yourself when you're a legal adult. That's a big thing right there. You have to be a legal adult. I do not like any of this stuff happening to children. But you have a right to do all that, all right? Just the same as you have the right to, of course, make yourself throw up after you eat because you're anorexic, right? It's a mental condition is what it is. You have a right to do whatever you want. I don't have to advocate for it. I don't have to really accept what you say as fact, but I will accept the fact that you have the right to do it. My issue comes into play when A, you have this content in schools that are sexually explicit, like the drag shows, right? Like the drag shows, like the book, you had the book Genderqueer being put in a bunch of these schools, a book that is 18 plus when you look at it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, yet it's in elementary schools and middle schools, which makes absolutely no sense. You have, of course, the drag shows, which are just absolutely despicable to be in front of children. And I've been to a drag show or two in my life, all right? My old business trips used to take me to Vegas all the time, so I actually I've seen a couple drag shows. They're funny, all right? I think they're good entertainment for adults, not for children. The whole joke of the whole thing is how sexual it is, but in a comedic way, basically. It is not meant for children. Yet it's being shown to children in schools. And when it comes to also the idea of talking about stuff like homosexuality in schools, even that I don't think should be allowed. And here's the reason why. Oh, at least let me add a caveat there. When you're talking about high school age kids, then sure, you can start introducing some of that stuff if you really want to. I still don't really particularly like it, but yeah, I think at that point it'll basically be all right. The issue I have is it being shown to prepubescent children. Children that are prepubescent don't have these desires. They have no understanding of what it really means to be attracted to someone. They might have, Johnny over there might really like Lucy, but he has no understanding of what that truly means when he gets older. Until they go through puberty, we have no idea what that's like. And people say, oh, so they can understand violence, but they can't understand sex. Yes, they can understand violence, but they can't understand sex. Because guess what? My 1-year-old understands violence. If he gets really upset right now at something, barely, but he'll slap you on the leg a little bit. And I'm like, hey, you better stop it. But at 1 year old, they understand the concept of violence. All right, he's playing with one of his friends, and they want a toy. One of them will push the other down to try to get that toy. They understand violence from birth. What they don't understand is sexual desire, nor should they. Not until after they go through puberty. So when you sit there and try to tell a kindergartner or a first grader what it is to be gay or straight or all this stuff, they have no frame of reference in their mind to properly figure that out. They might be able to say, okay, so two guys who really like each other are gay, and two girls who really like each other are gay, and then, guy and a girl is what I have. They might be able to know the words and how to put them together, and how they might know the overall idea, but they don't understand it. They have no understanding of what it actually means. It's like me saying, oh, well, I know the Bible. And then I pull out the Bible and go, yes, I know. It's this book right here. I know the Bible. And then if you start asking me questions on it, I go, oh, I've actually never read it. Right? You can know what the Bible is. You can know that the Bible, of course, is, by Christian accounts, of course, the Word of God and all that nonsense, right? Well, not nonsense. I mean, I'm a Christian, so I believe it. But you know what I mean, right? You know what a Bible is. But if you haven't read it, you don't understand it. Children might understand what homosexuality is. They might understand what transgenderism is, but they don't understand it because they have yet to have any frame of reference to work with. So that stuff should definitely be kept out of elementary and middle school schools. Again, we can make the argument for high school. I don't like it, but we can make the argument. When it comes to elementary and middle school, though, no argument there. It should be not allowed one bit. And it's also why, of course, Disney should not be showing it at all in their content either. But here, again, we have something interesting because obviously the left will gladly attack a Christian group of people who are standing up to stop this stuff being shown in schools. They will gladly attack Christians for doing this exact thing. But when it's Muslims, well, now we got ourselves a little bit of a oppression Olympics going on, right? Who's the more victimized, the Muslims or the LGBT? I would actually say, that's hard to say, actually. In America, I would probably actually say the Muslims are lower on the totem pole than the LGBT are, actually, because it's not like we have Walmart having Muslim month, now do we? Now, worldwide, we know who's lower on the totem pole, but in America, it probably should be the Muslims. But here's the thing. I don't think the left are even going to even bring up, they'll never bring up the fact that there is this problem when it comes to who accepts who. They built this coalition of people who really don't like each other. They mostly just have a mutual hatred of America for the most part. Which, let's face it, many people who are part of that LGBTQ whatever community do have a slight hatred for America. Not all. I have friends who are gay and married. They love America and they hate crap like this. They hate the fact that people in their community are pushing this stuff in schools, all right? The people I know who are gay cannot stand them pushing this stuff in schools because, well, for them, they keep saying the fact of they worked hard to shake that stereotype that, of course, gays are groomers and all that nonsense, right? They worked hard to shake that stereotype. And now, because actual groomers are going into schools, that stereotype is building back up again. And, of course, they're just a normal married couple, same as most of us, and go about their day. They don't want this stuff in their schools. So I don't mean to say everyone who's part of the everyone's part of the politically gay community. All right, everyone who's part of the politically gay community there's a difference between being politically gay, I guess, at this point, and being just gay, unfortunately. There does seem to be a whole block of people who have used their sexuality as a way to get political influence rather than just being their sexuality. At the end of the day, I really don't care what you are and what you do in your own private life, yet these people are constantly trying to push it wherever they can. And what do you know? Some Muslims are actually starting to shout back. Right here we got, the majority of those who attended Monday's Dearborn Public, of course, Dearborn, Michigan. Like I said before, Dearborn, Michigan, huge Muslim population. Dearborn's public school board meeting took a stand against books were Muslim. There were a handful of counter-protesters present to defend the books, including members of the American Federation of Teachers Union. Oh, the Teachers Union. Teachers Union are a bunch of bastards. I'll tell you one thing. I have so many stories about the damn Teachers Union. You can look at their past and how many times they have defended pedophile after pedophile. The Teachers Union is one of the biggest insults to the American school system in general. I mean, obviously public schools are a disaster regardless, no matter how you split it. They're indoctrination camps for the federal government. But the Teachers Union, my God, they are some of the worst of the worst. So you got this right here, them shouting, which I'll play here first. So that was one. Where's the one where they're, man, there was one where they were really getting at it. Yeah, there we go. Vote them out, vote them out. Hell, I love to hear it. I love to hear it. Again, Abrahamic religions unite. You know, we might have some differences here when it comes to a lot of different things, but we can at least all agree that you should not be showing this crap to our children. So one of Michigan's most prominent faith leaders, Imam Hassan al-Khwalala, the Islamic Institute of America in Dearborn Heights, directed his followers to protest during his sermon on Friday, according to a report by the Detroit Free Press. Some of those books are completely inappropriate for our children to read, al-Khwalala said. According to the report, some of these books promote pornography, some of them promote homosexuality. We do not need this. Go attend this meeting. And again, that's the thing, you know, you really open some of these books. Again, look at Genderqueer as a great example of it, where it actually has sexual acts being done in the book, and this isn't in a educational way, this isn't in a biological way, because I'm actually not against sex ed as a whole. Sex ed makes complete sense to me. If you're talking strictly about explaining to children the biology of sex, then I think that is just fine. Even talking about maybe some of the ramifications of it if you're not safe, I'm even open to hearing that. But when it comes to stuff like they're showing right now, it's showing, I'll give you an example. All right, so in Genderqueer, it has a whole page where it shows a girl giving a blowjob to another girl who's wearing a strap-on. How does that have anything to do with sex ed? All right, there's nothing about biology or science, nothing in there with that. That's just a kink. All right, that's just you having a kink. All right, we don't need to be telling kids what different kinks there are out there. We just need to explain to them, here's the basics of sex. Here's what it means. All right, here's what it causes. And just be done with it. All right, that's it. The rest of it, that's up for the parents to decide. That's up for the community as a whole to kind of decide, you know, for their own kids. It's not up to a teacher. It's not up to the school system. When you're talking about, you know, what kinks are being shown to these children. All right, that's totally inappropriate. 100% inappropriate. And that's what they're showing. They're not showing sex ed. They're showing kink ed. And there's a big difference. And now I'm not saying you can't go around and do some kinky shit if that's what you want to do in your own life. All I'm saying is you keep it away from the children. That's all I'm saying. All right, you do what you want to do. All right, have fun, right? Have fun with your partner. Don't push it on children. Don't talk about that shit in front of children. Is it that hard to say? All right, I don't go in front of a bunch of children and talk about what me and my wife did last night. That's not what we do. We say that is wrong. That's disgusting. It's terrible. Yeah, of course, apparently, if you're in the LGBT community and a teacher of a school, then hey, you can talk all about your sex life and you can pull out a book called Genderqueer and say, oh, look how educational it is while you show them different kinks. No, that's not how any of this should work. Now, when they say some of them promote homosexuality, again, I already said, in high school, I don't see a big deal if there's a book that has someone who's gay in it. I really don't see the big deal, because by that point, they have the frame of reference to at least understand what it is to be gay or what not, you know, not to be gay or any of that stuff. But this is a middle school that they're at, or where this was shown, a middle school where people are, you know, maybe just reaching that age where they're starting to, you know, figure that stuff out. I still think it should be kept out of middle schools. I think it should be kept out of middle schools, definitely kept out of elementary schools. And that's what they're protesting here. Plus, to be honest, these people probably would not like it in high schools either, knowing knowing the Muslim faith and the people who I know, people who I don't really know, but people who I've met who are Muslim, they're very strict about that stuff. I'll tell you what. You know, us Christians, a lot of us Christians have almost like a live and let live policy on it. But man, Muslims I've met, ooh, they are. I almost admire them for their commitment. I really almost do, even if I disagree with some of it. The report claimed Al Kualala, and I cannot say that name at all, so I'm saying Kualala, and others said that they have a democratic right to decide what is appropriate in their schools. Since the faith is now the majority, Dearborn is 47% Arab American, most of them Muslim. Dearborn Heights is about 1/3 Arab American, according to census data. Recent protests involved demonstrators who appeared to be mostly Muslim, but one of the key organizers, Stephanie Butler, is a Christian and appeared at both events. Again, Abrahamic religions unite. All we need is a couple Jews to show up there, and then we'll be set. Here's the funny thing here. They have a democratic right to decide. Okay, left, you love democracy so much. I'm a complete opponent to democracy in almost all of its forms. I hate democracy. All right, I will actively say I despise democracy. Democracy is one of the bloodiest and terrible forms of governance ever devised by man. If you do not believe me, you have not read your history if you really think democracy is a good form of government. And maybe the left will start to realize that when, guess what, the majority says they don't want gays in their school. Okay, well, guess what? Who cares about a republic form of government if the majority says so? Well, that's democracy, which must be good. Democracy is always good, isn't it? Do you hate democracy? See, I have no problem saying I hate democracy. Democracy is ridiculous. So guess what? I don't care if 90% of people all agree that abortion is right. I'm still going to say you're a bunch of lunatics and it should be banned. I do not care about democracy. I do not care what the mass opinion was. There was a time when the masses believed slavery was okay. It did not make it okay. Luckily, in a republic form of government, we can see this and make changes appropriately, because instead of going by what the people want en masse, we instead go by the rule of law. That's the big difference between a republic and democracy right there. We have a rule of law. It does not matter if 80% of the people believe that the right to bear arms does not give you the right to own an AR-15. The law, according to as it should be, says we are. And until the Constitution is changed, guess what? I'm going to own my guns the way I see fit. It does not matter what the public thinks. And guess what here? Democracy is basically saying they don't want this stuff in their schools. So left, ball's in your court. Do you or do you not like democracy? Just saying. We don't need those books in Dearborn and Dearborn Heights, Al Kualala said. Take them somewhere else. The majority rules. If you are the majority people in Dearborn, you decide for your children. We live in a democratic society, and there are certain tools and techniques with which you can change the law of this country. I mean, I can't disagree more. I do not think we're a democratic society. I hate democracy, as I said, but I do love the fact that what the left has been pushing with the idea of democracy is now being used against them. I absolutely love it. And again, I've been saying this for a long time. I said this in the short I posted on this too, that as the Muslim population has increased and as illegal immigration has increased, guess what? Those illegal immigrants are predominantly Catholic. Listen, if you believe in a lot of traditional values and a lot of different things, we might be making some real headway here soon. When it comes to, of course, abortion's a big one. Do you think a bunch of Hispanic Catholics are okay with abortion? Do you think a bunch of Muslims are okay with homosexuality in the schools? They aren't. Yet, because the left has constantly allowed, they think they're going to be the greatest voting bloc. I tell you one thing, we can see this in the stats. Hispanics are starting to turn over to the Republican Party, left and right. Why? Because the Republican Party at least has some traditional values left. They still suck, don't get me wrong, but they at least have some traditional values still there. And they don't sit there and ridicule you for being religious. They don't sit there and ridicule you for your faith. So, many Catholics who are Hispanic are turning over to the Republican Party. Many Muslims might start voting Republican as well if they keep trying to push this crap in schools. The imam added, they are proponents of democracy, but only if it supports liberal values. Yep, the moment it goes against liberal values, they are authoritarian who want to oppose their own values on people. They are very much authoritarians. That's 100% true. During the meet, however, democracy can still be authoritarian. Let's not forget that. Anytime you're forcing your views on others, you're kind of an authoritarian. This is why I lean typically more libertarian. But yeah, they're not wrong on it, right? They claim to be for democracy, but the moment they lose, they go, no, screw democracy. We're in power. We're going to rule. During the meeting, several protesters spoke out and led chants, including vote them out. We're going to send a message to the Board of Education. Protester Hassan Alan, I don't know, said, according to the report, we the people put you in this position. We put you on that chair. We elected you. A gay man who attended the meeting to counter protest had to be escorted to his vehicle by police as protesters shouted at him to leave our children alone. I kind of feel bad for that guy. I have no idea if that guy was actually advocating for what what was being shown in the schools or not. Because listen, a lot of times people are misled. I have met people who are gay who thought the Florida Don't Say Gay bill actually meant you couldn't say gay in schools. And as we know, it wasn't even called Don't Say Gay bill. It had nothing to do with Don't Say Gay. That is just a complete lie. Talk about, again, misinformation. Will CNN pay a massive fine? I don't know. But they actually thought that's what the bill was about. So they were saying how much they were against it. When they realized that all it was saying is you can't teach sex ed to kindergartners and first graders, they kind of realized, oh, wait a second, I'm wrong, and they backed off of it. So I don't know if this guy actually knew what he was protesting for or counter-protesting for, to be honest. So I feel kind of bad them shouting, leave our children alone. But I kind of get it. If you're trying to show children, pornographic images, then yes, leave our children alone. The protesters had the support of the Council on American Islamic Relations, a typical leftist organization who is now helping Muslims protect their religious right to keep explicit material away from their children in public schools. The meeting has now been rescheduled for Thursday at Fordham High School, which can hold a large... Oh, it's this Thursday. Oh, it's today. Oh, that's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see what happens then. I just burnt the hell out of my hand. I have a coffee heater here. I just put my hand right on. I don't know why the hell I did that. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? It's definitely interesting seeing this now take place with Muslims actually going over and shutting down school board meetings like this. And it's interesting seeing that, of course, Christians and Muslims actually uniting on something for once. And who knew? The one thing that could get Christians, Muslims, and Jews to stop hating each other was the left. It was our unified hatred for what the left has become. All you need for peace in the Middle East is to drop a bunch of leftists over there, and Israel and Palestine will band together to fight off the hordes of gender nonsense that they would try to introduce. All right. Let's see. We got last but not least, and this one's kind of a doozy, but one that we should not be surprised about whatsoever. The FBI offered Christopher Steele $1 million to prove the dossier claims senior FBI analysis testifies. Now, for those of you who don't know, Christopher Steele is the man who's responsible for the dossier that reported that Trump was a Russian asset that turned out not to be true. The misinformation the media spread that, of course, they will not be fined for spreading misinformation for, unlike, of course, what happened to Alex Jones. And the FBI paid, or were trying to offer him, $1 million to prove those claims. Now, mind you, the FBI was told to stay away from Hunter Biden, to stay away from the Hunter Biden story 100%. But when it came to Trump, they were willing to pay a man $1 million for dirt. Absolutely insane. And mind you, this is from CNN. This is from CNN we got right now, right? This is not a right-wing news source here. CNN reporting on this. Shortly before the 2016 election, the FBI offered retired British spy Christopher Steele up to $1 million to prove the explosive allegations of his dossier about Donald Trump. A senior FBI analyst testified Tuesday. The cash offering was made during an overseas October 2016 meeting between Steele and several top FBI officials who were trying to collaborate. Steele's claims that the Trump campaign was colluding with the Russians to win the election. FBI supervisor Brian Aton testified that Steele never got the money because he could not prove the allegations. Now, mind you, this is 2016. Steele could not prove the allegations. And yet, the FBI continued to push this nonsense. The media continued to push this nonsense, even though they offered a $1 million cash amount if it could be proven. And the guy could not prove it. Yet they still pushed it. They knew what they were doing. They knew they were going to try to tie him up for 4 years. Now listen, I am not a huge, jump on the Trump train kind of guy myself. I like Trump for what he did. But I'll be honest, I was not supporting him in 2016. I voted for him reluctantly in a presidential election, but when it came to the midterms, I hated the guy. I was either Rand Paul or Ted Cruz. All right, and Rand Paul obviously didn't stand a chance. He's obviously my preferred candidate, being more libertarian. Ted Cruz is at least a constitutionalist for the most part, even if I understand why people don't like him. I understand it. But for the most part, I find him to be mostly a constitutionalist. So I was supporting Ted Cruz mostly. I didn't like Trump. I didn't like the way he spoke. I didn't like the way he held himself. All right, I'm more of a traditionalist with a lot of stuff. I want to see a politician go up there and quote Cicero. I don't want to see him go up there and call someone a fat cow, as funny as it was, and it was pretty funny. But that's not what I want to really see from a president. Yet, when it was him and Hillary, I pulled the lever for Trump. I thought he actually did an amazing job compared to what I thought he would do, to be honest. I have to say, back in 2008, when he talked about running for office, people asked me, well, how good do you think Trump would be as president if he did run? Because they knew I was reading Art of, it might have been Art of the, I forget which it was. It was one of Trump's books back then when I was still in school. And I said he would make a big government run more effective, but he would not reduce the size of government. And surprise, surprise, he made a big government run more effective, but he did reduce the size of government every now and again. I was greatly surprised by that. So he earned my respect. I voted for him proudly in 2020. But in 2016, the FBI knew at that point that it could not be proven, that the allegations against Trump were basically complete false. If you offer someone $1 million to prove their allegations and they still can't prove it, what do you have to go on? Really, what do you have to go on? If you've offered someone $1 million cash to prove the allegations they couldn't prove it, I'm sorry, at that point, I'm just going to say all of your stuff is total BS. Yet they continued it. They continued to go over it again and again and again, kept pushing more and more. And the reason why they kept pushing, in big part, was because, listen, the FBI is liberal. The FBI supports the Democrats. And we have this other story here from the New York Post. FBI brass who warned Facebook about the Hunter Biden laptop were Democrat donors. They were Democrat donors. Now, for one, I think if you probably work in federal government, maybe you shouldn't be allowed to donate to political campaigns. I don't know. Maybe that's going too far. But these people are working for the Democrat Party. They just are. Mind you, the FBI raided Veritas because they thought he had the diary of a private citizen, a diary of Joe Biden's daughter. Now, admittedly, we know why they went after that diary. That diary, she claims Joe Biden did sexually inappropriate things with her at a young age. And of course, them raiding their headquarters to get back that diary, I think, proves its validity. However, not only did they raid Project Veritas for that diary, they then went and leaked. Well, geez, they're doing a whole video here about a monkey. Okay, I need to move that down a bit. That's distracting. A monkey going crazy. Of course, they play his random videos. So They not only went and raided Project Veritas and took back the diary, but they also then leaked their legal information to, I believe it was The Atlantic, who they were in a lawsuit with. They gave information from their legal counsel over to their opposition in a legal case. All right, that is how up the FBI has become. The FBI was sent to investigate a rope pull of a garage door at a NASCAR race. All right, the FBI needs to be complete. Here's the thing. Here's the problem. When it comes to anyone who's worked in corporate America understands that when the culture of a company dies, the only thing you're really left to do at that point is mass layoffs to a point where you can then hire so many. You need to at least lay off around 60-70% of your staff to then bring in new staff so that you can build up a new culture. Because once it's a bad culture in a company is a cancer. It spreads and it spreads and spreads. And it's very, very hard to get rid of. It is very hard. If you don't get rid of it soon enough, it's terminal, right? There's no way you're going to get it out. Same goes with the FBI. The FBI has a cancer in it. And that cancer is, of course, biased politics, biased leftist politics. And again, these people have no values. Leftism doesn't have a value. Leftism believes might makes right. Leftism believes, of course, in the ideas that, the ends justify the means. Now, go further on the right spectrum, what do you get? You get, of course, the constitutionalists, the libertarians, the anarchists, stuff like that. And yes, I do believe anarchism is on the far right. The way I look at it is the far left is more centralized power. Far right is less centralized power. You go to the extreme right, guess what? You get anarchy. Go to extreme left, you get communism. Communism and leftism has no real values other than the end goal. That's it. Whatever it takes to get to the end goal, they will do. People on the right understand that values must come first. So the FBI being run by leftists, it means they will do anything to get to that end goal. The ends always will justify the means to them. And for them here, it was, again, FBI brass telling Facebook, of course, to censor American citizens. The federal government telling a company to censor free speech. And then, of course, offering $1 million to dig up dirt on a political candidate that they did not like. We are at a weird crossroads right now in American history. I don't know where this is going to go. I read a lot. I like to read, but you might see a few books, but I have more up around here. And right now I'm going through some books revolving around the Founding Fathers. I don't see a single leader today that has even an ounce of what our Founding Fathers had. I don't know where we go from here. I don't know where this leads. I have no clue. Do we fall? I mean, I think right now maybe the best course of action might be balkanization. I mean, at least with balkanization, we can at least say, hey, you do you, we'll do us. But let's say balkanization happens, right? How do we know the Constitution that maybe Texas would draw up would be any better than what we currently have today? We don't. It's a major risk. So it's hard to say what will actually work and what wouldn't work. The big problem that we have is a problem that's been going on right now for probably almost a century. To be perfectly honest, we gave the right to vote to everyone. That was a problem. Not everyone should vote. I probably shouldn't be allowed. The way I look at it is it made sense to say that people who don't own property shouldn't vote because you have no stake in the land that you own. If you're renting, you don't vote. Only people who own land vote. Done. Now, I know a lot of people out there will be disappointed. Listen, I don't own my own land at this point. I'm renting. That takes me and my family out. But guess what? When it comes to who actually owns land, that's a lot of people who are on the right, just saying. But you have to have some level to say, some bar saying that, listen, you have to somewhat earn the right to vote. I think that's fair. Now, some people go to the Starship Trooper model where, of course, service guarantees citizenship. I like it, but I don't think it really works. I think actually a literacy test makes complete sense. I know people instantly say Jim Crow laws and all that stuff, saying, "Oh, well, you're trying to stop black people from voting." Da, 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 da. Well, not if it's implemented universally. All right, if it's implemented, the problem was it was implemented against a certain group of people. No, what I'm saying is it should be for all of us, because I guarantee you there's a lot of white people who are too dumb to be voting. All right? So I think a literacy test makes sense. I was talking to one of my friends. He's a complete leftist. And he actually agreed with me in the sense that maybe we should have a literacy test, then all it is the citizenship test. If you can't pass the test we give people to become citizens, why should you be able to vote? It's not a hard test. It's hard, I ain't doing wrong. A lot of people would fail it. But you spend one day studying, you can get through that damn test, no problem. If you paid attention at all in school, well, depending on the school you went to, if you paid attention at all, though, and just to American history, you'll get through that test without any problem. Very simple test. Prove you had the right to vote. So we made a mistake there, right? Not everyone should be voting. Not everyone should be voting. Our senators should not be voted on by popular vote. It was never meant to be this way. It was never meant to be this way. We were meant to be a republic first with certain democratic institutions. Instead, we've turned our country into a democracy, which of course will never function appropriately. If you do not believe that democracy is a terrible and evil form of government, all you have to do is look at your history. Look at the French Revolution, man. Look at what they did. Look at the just turmoil that came from that. They thought living under the king was bad. Then they begged to have the king back after what happened when they got rid of him. Of course, what happens? They get rid of Napoleon rises, the strong person to push those evil bastards aside to take control. They went from king to democracy, back to king to emperor to democracy. It was a whole mess because democracy does not work. It always ends up falling apart because eventually the majority realizes they can vote for themselves at the expense of the minority, and then the minority, of course, are going to raise up against the majority. It's a never-ending cycle. The Senate is meant to be elected by our state officials, not by us. We elect our state officials. The state officials choose amongst them who will be the senators for the state. The real checks and balances of this country were supposed to be the president representing the federal government, representing the country as a whole. Congress representing the people. We vote on Congress democratically. That's fine, right? They represent the people. And then the third was not, and by Congress, I mean, of course, I know the Senate is technically, we get that, but you know what I mean. Our delegates, right? The third check and balance, though, was not the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was looked at so little that they literally served in the basement. The basement. They didn't even have their own building for most of them, for a long portion of American history. The real third checks and balance was the Senate, which was the states. So you had the federal government represented, you had the people represented, and then the Senate represented the states. They were elected, you elected your delegates for your state, and then of those delegates, they would decide who would be the senators, which made sure that the state's interests were best represented, and it was not just a full-on democracy. We've basically moved to a full-on democracy, and once we get rid of the electoral college, which they're trying to do, we'll basically be there. So I don't know where we go from here. The FBI is complete. I went off on a tangent there. I know. I'm sorry. I do that all the time. The FBI, though, from the FBI is corrupt as hell. It always will be. It always will be until you sit there and weed out all of it. I don't know what comes next. I think we probably have to give Trump another time. Just one, we have to give him one more go at it. I like Ron DeSantis more, but we have to give Trump another go at it here. Maybe he'll clear it out because it is obvious now, I think, to everyone. The FBI, they did anything they could to push him out of office. So maybe he is petty enough to the point where he'll just get rid of everything about them, which would be fantastic. Replace them all. Replace every one of them. Either way, thank you so much for joining. This has been fun. Hopefully I get a bit better at this. I know it's been a bit all over the place, but first one back in a long time, so yeah. It's definitely been a while since I've done any form of live video, so forgive me for being kind of all over the place, but again, it's been fun. Hopefully the more we do this, the better it gets, and maybe I can start putting out some more long form videos that are more well structured as well. We'll see. Either way, thank you so much for watching, and I do hope to be seeing y'all again next time.